How many times have you found yourself making decisions based on what others will think? Maybe you've worried about wearing the right clothes to impress, saying the right words to please, or even giving up on something you wanted to do because someone might judge you. The truth is, when we live our lives seeking the approval of others, we stop living our own lives. Worrying about what other people think is like carrying invisible chains. They are there, squeezing and limiting you, but no one sees them. Only you feel the weight. And do you know what's scariest? Many times these chains are created by ourselves, based on beliefs that we have accumulated throughout our lives. Today I want to help you see these chains, and more importantly, show you how to free yourself from them. Because you deserve to live authentically, being who you really are, without needing anyone's validation. If you're ready to take this step, stay with me, because this journey begins now. Why do we seek approval? From a very young age, we are programmed to seek the approval of others. Think about what happens when we are children. A smile from our parents or a compliment at school become small rewards that make us feel loved and valued. This is natural. It is part of our human development. After all, we all want to feel accepted, like we belong, like we are part of something bigger. But the problem begins when this need for acceptance stops being a healthy motivation and turns into an invisible prison. During adolescence, this intensifies. We want to impress our friends, fit in with groups, and appear interesting to the world. And then, without even realizing it, we start to shape who we are based on what we think people expect of us. If everyone likes a certain style, we change the way we dress. If being funny attracts attention, we force jokes even when we don't feel comfortable. Little by little, we stop being who we really are and transform ourselves into characters created to please others. And today, as adults, this quest for approval takes on new forms. Maybe you've experienced it at work, striving to appear competent, even if it means saying yes to things you don't want to do. Or maybe on social media, where a simple post can be an attempt to gain likes, comments, and, ultimately, a sense of relevance. This is no coincidence. We live in a society that reinforces the idea that our validation depends on others, that our worth lies in how we are perceived. But this search comes at a price. It creates insecurity because we are always asking ourselves, will they like me? Am I good enough? It creates a fear of making mistakes because the judgment of others seems like too great a risk. And worse, it disconnects us from who we really are. We begin to forget our own desires, our own values, all in order to fit into other people's expectations. Do you know what the most dangerous trap is? It's that this search for approval never ends. There will always be someone to please, an opinion to win, a criticism to avoid. And the more you try to please, the more you lose yourself, as if you were stuck in a race with no finish line. But let me tell you something powerful. The approval you really seek is not out there. It's within you. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to reclaim that power, break out of this cycle, and finally live authentically without needing anyone's validation. Because your life is too valuable to be guided by what others think. The cost of living for others. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you made decisions not because you wanted to, but because you felt you had to please someone? Maybe you accepted an invitation to an event you didn't even want to go to, just to avoid being judged for looking antisocial. Or maybe you spent hours getting ready, choosing the perfect outfit, worrying about what others would think. These little everyday situations seem harmless, but when added together, they show how suffocating living to please others can be. The biggest cost of living for others is the loss of your freedom. You start making decisions based on what will seem right to others, not what makes sense to you. This traps you into a never-ending trap of expectations. And you know what's worse? Many times these expectations aren't even real. They exist only in your head, fueled by the fear of judgment and the need for approval. Furthermore, living to please others drains your emotional energy. Think about how exhausting it is to always be trying to fit in, adapt, and change who you are to please different people. Every choice you make to please others is like a little piece of your authentic self that you leave behind. And before you know it, you no longer know what you really want, who you are, or what your own values are. Another major cost is constant anxiety. When you worry too much about what others think, you get stuck in a cycle of anticipating judgment. Before you even act, you're already imagining the criticism, the looks, the comments. This creates a mental burden that affects your health, your happiness, and even your self-esteem. After all, when you base your worth on the opinions of others, any criticism, no matter how small, can bring you down. What's more, living to please others often means giving up your own opportunities. How many times have you said yes to others and no to yourself? Maybe you turned down a job opportunity because you were afraid of appearing too ambitious. Or you failed to express your true opinion in a conversation to avoid conflict. All of these little sacrifices add up over time, until you look back and realize that you didn't live the life you wanted, but rather the life you thought others expected of you. But here's the truth that no one tells you. No matter how hard you try to please everyone, you'll never be enough for everyone. There will always be someone who criticizes you, someone who disagrees, someone who projects their own insecurities onto you. So if you're trying so hard to win the approval of others, ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth sacrificing your freedom, your energy, and your happiness for something you'll never have complete control over? Why does other people's opinions matter so much to you? Now that you understand the costs of living to please others, it's important to take a step back and ask yourself a fundamental question. Why does the opinion of others matter so much to you? Think about it. After all, it's something that often causes us anguish, anxiety, and even suffering. Even so, we continue to seek approval, as if it were a vital necessity. But where does this need come from? Let's explore it together. It all starts with our past experiences. The need to please is usually linked to events or situations that shaped the way we see the world and ourselves. Maybe you grew up in an environment where being accepted was conditional on meeting certain expectations. It could have been constant criticism from someone close to you, an unattainable standard that you tried to meet, or even times when rejection made you believe that you would only be valued if you were perfect. These experiences take deep root in our minds, and even without realizing it, we carry these beliefs into adulthood. And it doesn't stop there. We live in a society that reinforces this mentality. Social media, for example, has become a kind of public mirror, where every post, every photo, every word is analyzed, judged, and validated, or not, by numbers such as likes, comments, and followers. It's as if we were constantly competing for approval in a digital showcase. The problem? This creates an emotional dependence that only grows over time. But here's something important for you to consider. Other people's opinions only carry the weight you allow them to. When you worry excessively about what other people think, you're actually giving them power over your life that they shouldn't have. You're telling them, even if it's just an indirect message, that their judgment is more valuable than your own opinion of yourself. This sends you into a dangerous spiral where every action is calculated to please or avoid criticism, rather than reflect who you really are. And there's more. When you depend on other people's approval, you end up living reactively. In other words, you don't make decisions based on your desires, but on what others expect. This takes you further and further away from your essence. It's as if you're trying to fill a void, but using the wrong tool. External validation will never be enough, because it is fleeting, unstable, and often completely out of your control. Now take a deep breath and reflect with me. When was the last time you made a decision completely freely without thinking about what others would think? If you can't remember, don't worry. It's more common than you think. But here's the good news. You can change that reality. And it all starts with a powerful truth that I want to share with you right now. Someone's opinion of you is just that. An opinion. It's not a fact. It's not a universal truth. It's simply a reflection of that person's beliefs, experiences, and perceptions. And more often than not, it has more to do with them than it does with you. When you understand this, you begin to realize that it doesn't make sense to base your life on something so fickle and subjective. And here's the bottom line. Your life belongs to you. The choices you make, the decisions you make, and the paths you follow should be guided by your own values, not by the expectations of others. You are the only person who truly lives the consequences of your choices. So why let someone else have so much power over them? In the next section, we'll dive deep into practical strategies for freeing yourself from this need for approval. I'll show you how to regain control of your life and, more importantly, how to start living according to what really matters to you. Because at the end of the day, that's what makes the difference. Being true to yourself, regardless of what others think. The secret to freedom. The good news is that you can change this. You can reclaim your freedom and live a life that truly reflects who you are. In the next section, I'll show you how to take the first steps to break out of this cycle and start living for yourself, not for others. Because life is too short to be spent trying to please someone who will never be completely satisfied. The good news is that you don't have to spend the rest of your life trapped in seeking the approval of others. There is a path to freedom, and it starts with a simple shift in perspective. The only approval you need is your own. It may sound cliché, but when you truly understand and apply this, your life will transform. Let's explore how to take the first steps toward that freedom. The first step is to recognize your worth, regardless of anyone else's opinion. Ask yourself, what makes me special? What do I value about myself? Maybe you're determined, creative, kind, or have a unique skill. These qualities are what make you who you are, and they don't depend on anyone else to validate you. When you start to see this, you realize that you don't need anyone else to tell you that you're enough. The second step is to stop comparing yourself. Comparison is one of the biggest traps for approval seekers because it always ends up putting yourself in a lower position. Someone else will always seem more successful, more beautiful, more intelligent. But here's the truth. The only person you should compare yourself to is the version of yourself you had yesterday. Your progress is unique. Your journey is unique. Don't let someone else's trajectory define the value of yours. The third step is to learn to say no. Yes, this can be uncomfortable, especially if you're used to pleasing everyone. But saying no is an act of self-love. When you say no to something that doesn't resonate with your values or priorities, you're saying yes to yourself. And here's a tip. You don't have to justify your no's. A simple, no, thank you, will do. Another secret is to connect with your own desires and goals. What do you really want out of life? Oftentimes, we are so busy trying to please others that we forget to listen to our own voice. Take some time to reflect. What makes you happy? What motivates you? What gives you energy? When you start pursuing your own goals, the opinions of others become less important because you are aligned with what really matters to you. And finally, accept that you will never please everyone. This is one of the most liberating truths you can learn. There will always be people who disagree, criticize, or don't understand your choices. And that's okay, because at the end of the day, it's your life, and you're the one who should live it. When you accept this, other people's opinions won't carry the weight they used to, and you'll start to feel lighter, more confident, and freer. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you stopped seeking approval. If you could wake up every day being who you truly are, making decisions based on what makes you happy, not what others expect of you. That's the power of the freedom to live for yourself. And the best part, that power is already within you. It's just waiting for you to make the decision to use it. In the next block, I will share a practical exercise that can help you put all this into action and begin your journey of liberation today, because change is possible, and you deserve this change. Practical exercise. Now that you understand the importance of freeing yourself from the need for approval, it's time to take action, because knowledge without action doesn't change anything. What I'm going to show you now is a simple but incredibly powerful exercise that can be the first step to transforming your relationship with the opinions of others. Grab a pen and paper or open Notepad on your cell phone and get ready for a reflection that will change your perspective. First, write down 3 things you love about yourself. It could be anything: your creativity, your resilience, your ability to care for others, your sense of humor. The goal here is to focus on what makes you unique, the qualities you value, not what others say about you. And don't be afraid to praise yourself. Recognizing your own qualities isn't arrogance. It's an act of self-love. Then write down 3 things you do just to please others. Think about everyday situations. Maybe it's something simple like wearing clothes you don't like just because they're in style. Or something bigger, like pursuing a career you chose to meet your family's expectations. Identifying these behaviors is key to understanding how you're living for external approval. Now comes the most important part. Pick one of the 3 things you do to please others and eliminate or reduce that action over the next week. It can be something small, but it can have a significant impact. For example, if you always accept invitations to events you don't want to go to just to avoid upsetting others, try politely saying no. If you feel like you're being judged on social media, take some time to post only what you like, without worrying about getting likes. As you do this, pay attention to how you feel. At first, it may be uncomfortable. You may feel a little scared or guilty, but at the same time, you will notice a sense of relief and freedom, because for the first time, you will be prioritizing your happiness over the opinions of others. Also, here's a bonus tip. Create a visual reminder to reinforce your journey. This could be a motivational phrase written on your mirror, like, "I am enough," or even a daily notification on your phone, reminding you to be true to who you are. These small actions can help rewire your mind and keep you on track. Lastly, remember, this is a process. No one changes overnight, and that's okay. The important thing is to take the first step, even if it seems small, because every choice you make towards your freedom is a victory, and these victories accumulated over time, will lead you to live a more authentic and fulfilled life. So, are you ready to get started? Do the exercise today and see how this simple change can pave the way for something much bigger. If you want, share in the comments what you decided to eliminate from your life or the qualities you love most about yourself. Let's go on this journey of transformation together, because you deserve to live for yourself, not for others. Remember this: life is too short to be lived under the control of other people's opinions. When you choose to free yourself from this need for approval, something magical happens. You begin to live with more ease, authenticity, and purpose. You discover that you don't need to change who you are to please anyone, because what really matters is being aligned with your own values and desires. Think about what we've talked about today. Every time you say no to something that doesn't resonate with you, you're saying yes to a more authentic life. Every step you take toward your own freedom is an act of courage, a gesture of self-love. And the amazing thing is that this transformation is within your reach, because the power to free yourself has always been within you. So, start today. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because it will never come. Do the exercise I proposed, reflect on the changes you can make, and, most importantly, believe in yourself. You are stronger than you imagine, more capable than you believe, and more valuable than any external opinion can determine. If this video helped or inspired you in any way, share it with someone who also needs to hear this message, because together, we can create a chain of freedom and authenticity that inspires even more people to free themselves. And before you go, I want to leave you with this thought. Life is a gift, and the greatest act of gratitude you can do is to live it fully, being true to who you are. So, free yourself, overcome yourself, be inspired. See you in the next video. Stay.